I never imagined the truth behind the unholy Roman Emperor Frederick II would shatter history. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The whispers in the crowded marketplace echoed in my ears, both chilling and intoxicating. Frederick II, a figure draped in dark mystery, a man whose cruelty turned the whispering winds into howling ghosts. They said he conversed with demons, that he bribed the dead themselves for knowledge lost to time. My heart raced, caught between disbelief and a desperate need to understand. It felt like the air crackled, thick with tension, as I stumbled upon an ancient manuscript hidden in the corner of my grandfather's dusty attic. A fragile relic, its yellowed pages trembled beneath my fingers, revealing secrets long buried. The ink blurred from the ages, fragments of haunting words leaping out at me. The emperor sought power in unimaginable darkness. Memory gave way to panic as a cold sweat dripped down my back. Visions of unspeakable rituals danced behind my eyes. The room felt smaller, suffocating, each breath a struggle. My familiar mother, the gentle heart, always too trusting. My brother, brave but reckless, who believed fervently in the light. And then there was Anna, my love, fearless and grounded, constantly pulling me back from the edge. They needed to know, but how could I tell them about the looming shadow that seemed to stretch over our legacy? The whispers grew louder, begging me to follow their trail into the abyss. What if what I uncovered was more than just history? What if this man, this emperor, created ties with dark forces that still influence our world? As I delved deeper, every revelation tightened the grip on my chest. The walls felt like they were closing in, and my hands trembled with the weight of my discovery. Heartbeats echoed in my ears, louder and louder, drowning out reason and sanity. Every legend I've heard about the unholy practices flashed in my mind. The dark rituals performed in secret, a child's cry drowned in the clamor of power-hungry men. Lives were shattered in his quest, all for the throne. How could anyone seek such madness? Silent tears formed, hot against my cheeks, as I imagined the innocent lives lost for greed. Then came the twist, a shocking breath of electricity in the air. A legend I hadn't heard before, a prophecy that claimed he would return. The thought sent chills down my spine. Could he still be alive in some form? This wasn't just about history, it was looming danger now, right at our doorstep. And then, I felt Ida's cold presence behind me. A shiver rolled down my spine, the shadows molding into a figure I couldn't bear to acknowledge. My heart raced, pounding like a war drum. I turned, but nothing was there. Only the echo of my breath, and the feel of darkness creeping closer. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The days that followed felt like I was carrying the weight of a mountain on my shoulders. Every glance at my family was accompanied by an internal dread that churned in my stomach. The laughter of my mother in the kitchen became a distant echo, overshadowed by the ominous thoughts stalking me relentlessly. I caught myself staring at Anna, her vibrant spirit dimmed by unseen shadows, and it broke my heart. I wanted to confide in her, to share the terror gripping my mind, but how could I? Wouldn't I just drag her into the abyss I had stumbled upon? I had left the manuscript hidden in my room, a treasure I feared to open again. Each page seemed to pulse with a dark energy, a silent warning that seeped into my thoughts. I thought about how quickly my world had shifted. One moment we were blissfully unaware, the next destiny twisted into a grotesque form. Yet hidden among my fears, flickers of hope lingered like stars in a night sky. I hesitated to see them at first, believing hope would bring only more pain. But there was always the comforting thought that Anna believed in light. Perhaps her belief alone could illuminate even the darkest truths. Then came an unexpected visit from my brother, Adrian. He arrived with an unusual gleam in his eye, a cascade of excitement spilling over his face, the kind that he wore when he had unearthed something significant. "You won't believe what I found." His voice was invincible, and for a fleeting moment, I wished I could feel that same invincibility. I ushered him into the living room, heart racing with both curiosity and a familiar heaviness. "What is it?" I asked, trying to mask the tremor in my voice. "I spoke with Father Elias," he began, his fingers brushing over the worn wood of the coffee table. "He told me about an ancient order, hidden away from most men and women, dedicated to combating the darkness, to keeping tyrants like Frederick II at bay in order." The word hung heavily between us, hinting at a world I had not explored. "But if they exist, why haven't we heard of them?" Adrian leaned forward, eyes gleaming with fervor. "Because they operate in shadows. The more I learned, the more I realized their purpose aligns with what Frederick pursued all those years ago. They hold the knowledge we need. They fight against the very evil he sought to unleash. A chance," I muttered softly, allowing the word to breathe in the silence between us. "But what if they're just another story?" "Then it's a story we need to uncover," he replied. "We can't let fear decide our fate." Something flickered to life in my chest, a burning ember against the suffocating grasp of despair. I thought of Anna, of the lives intertwined with ours, and the weight of history on our shoulders. Perhaps there had always been a flicker of hope in the darkness. "Where do we find them?" His answer, however, was cut short by the sudden appearance of our mother. Her face wore a pallor that shattered my moment of resolve, her eyes wide with the kind of fear that curdled in the pit of my stomach. "We need to talk." The room tensed as she spoke, the air thickening with foreboding. "I found something you both need to see." We followed her trembling form to the attic, my heart pounding as memories of what lay hidden there rushed back. She gestured toward a chiseled box sprawled atop the musty treasure of the past. It was grim, ancient, whispering of secrets long kept. "What is it?" I asked, trepidation constricting my voice. She hesitated. "It was your grandfather's. He warned me to never open it, but I couldn't resist. I thought perhaps we could find answers." Her voice trailed off as she reached to uncover the elide. She pried it open. A rush of air whooshed into the room, a cold, dreadful breath that swept over us like a ghost. Inside, framed in strings of dusty satin, lay an odd assortment of items. A dagger that gleamed with others' blood, strange stones etched with dark symbols, and a brittle journal bound in leather. It was then a dreadful realization washed over me. Inherited darkness pulsed beneath our family name, tethered to Frederick II's legacy. "We shouldn't be doing this," I whispered, the words tumbling from my mouth in a panic. But it was too late. In that instant, the shadows encroached even closer. Whispers flared, demanding acknowledgement. The air shifted, crackling, as the lights flickered above us, plunging us into dimness. Each beat of my heart seemed to echo louder. I turned to Adrian and my mother, fear dancing in their eyes, but as I looked back to the box, the room began to shimmer and warp, as if the very fabric of reality was being called into question. Before I could even catch my breath, the dagger once so lifeless quivered, drawing together the ancient threads of our family's dark history, and from the depths of that old repressed sorrow, I realized we were no longer alone. A voice broke through the shadows, commanding and eerie. "The truth you seek, the truth you fear, lies far deeper than you can imagine." I gasped, the chill of recognition coursing over me. There was no escaping the vengeance of the past. The attic was suffused with an oppressive hush, my pulse thundering in my ears, drowning out everything but the echo of the disembodied voice that lingered in the air like a malign specter. "The truth you seek, the truth you fear, lies far deeper than you can imagine." I felt my body tense, a primal instinct igniting within me to flee, to escape the unknown that had suddenly wrapped around us like an inescapable snare. "Mom, we need to close the box," I shouted, desperation clawing through my words. Fear twisted my stomach as I shot a glance at Adrian, whose expression had morphed into a mask of determination and terror, a volatile cocktail that left no room for logic. But our mother, instead of retreating, stood as if in a trance, her hands trembling above the dagger, captivated by something beyond our understanding. There's a reason this was hidden, both from me and from you, she murmured almost to herself. But what if it could help us? My protests were drowned by the rapid fluttering of my heart. Racing thoughts spiraled in my mind, futile attempts to grasp the profundity of our lineage and the very real threat tethered to it. I had spent time imagining the worst of our lineage, but never had I envisioned its haunting resonance stripped bare before us. Please, don't, I implored, stepping forward, urging her through the veil of her own thoughts. We need to focus. The manuscript, everything is too entwined with darkness. We can't afford a single misstep. The shadows deepened, whispering secrets long buried as if they sensed our fear. I could feel their chill coiling around me, thick and suffocating. Amongst this growing darkness, a sudden light flickered, not directly in our realm, but in the memory of warmth still coaxing my soul back from the ledge of despair. Anna's laughter, that radiant beacon I often took for granted, slipped into my thoughts like an unexpected hand through a storm. What about Anna? I blurted out, the thought of her innocence and the possibility of her getting embroiled in this terror washing over me like a wave. She can't be exposed to this. Finally, my mother's fingers recoiled from the dagger, and in that moment her dazed expression began to sharpen. She withdrew, nervously inching backward, and the air returned, though its pallor remained heavy. You're right, she exhaled shakily. I never intended for you two to see this. I thought there might be answers, but if it's dangerous, Adrian interjected. His voice taut, I would rather not know than put you in harm's way. She whispered, a shimmer of regret passing through her tired eyes. It struck me like an arrow to the heart. As we stood together in the attic, surrounded by relics of our familial shadows, I realized that her choices weighed heavily on her, too. But even as we exchanged glances, I could feel that too much time remained unaccounted for. The hourglass of fate tipped precariously, and a decision hovered over us, our self-preservation pitted against the search for the truth. We need to put this away and start looking for the order Adrian mentioned, I insisted, the words tumbling with urgency, the threat of the unknown coiling similarly to the shadows we feared. We need to uncover more before such things can harm us. We have to protect what light we have left. Adrian nodded, though trepidation washed across his gaze. Maybe they can help us understand Frederick's legacy, better help us dismantle what he aimed to revive. But as we arranged the relics back inside the box with shaking hands, all fighting against the heart-wrenching truth of how deeply this darkness threatened to penetrate our lives, a sudden crash from the floor below shattered the dim silence binding us. It echoed through the narrow attic, the clamor sending icy fingers of dread trailing down my spine. Did you hear that? My mother's voice barely reached above a whisper. Before any of us could respond, the lights flickered again, and I felt each pulse of their rhythm synchronize with my racing heart. Silhouettes danced across the walls as panic flared in my chest. Adrian rushed to the attic door, yanking it open only to be met by an overwhelming sight. Downstairs, chaos erupted. Our once peaceful home now lay besieged by darkness, the swirling miasma enveloping the familiar warmth of familial love and laughter in its toxic vice. Run! Adrian shouted, but even as those words hung in the air, a tremor of despair echoed in our collective hearts. I hesitated only a moment, but every instinct screamed to stay. Anna! I barely croaked as anxiety crushed my throat. As I turned, I felt the shadows push against me, a bitter wind that clawed at my back, and I stumbled. All sense of certainty shattered. The world I knew imploded, revealing an unexpected revelation. What if the truth we searched for was not hidden in the past but racing toward us, living and breathing among us? What if Uncle Matt, who met with silence days ago, had been pulled into this chaos, woven into Frederick's grand scheme once more? Could he hold the key we were grasping for, or was he one more casualty in the fight ahead? My thoughts spiraled, intertwining with the encroaching dread thickening in the air. The knife glimmered in the darkness behind us, resonating with the shadows that beckoned like a siren's call. But I had to choose. Did I dive deeper into this darkness, or would I find a way to defy the inevitable? And just like that, as I made my choice, the floor began to tremble beneath us, pulsating in synchronous dread. unearthing secrets I could never have imagined. The last remnants of hope flickered out, and with every beat of my heart, I realized we were not merely facing an impending darkness, we were walking right into its unfolding void. The whispers of darkness coiled tighter around us, the air thickening in a way that felt almost palpable, like the weight of an unwelcome embrace. My heart pounded in a relentless rhythm, each beat echoing the ache of uncertainty. In that moment of chaos, I felt a surge of instinctual desperation. I had to protect Anna, not just from the shadows that seeped through our home, but from the truth threatening to unravel everything we understood. "Mom, we have to find Anna," I yelled, forcing myself to meet my mother's haunted gaze. The dam of her composure was beginning to fracture, revealing the raw anguish beneath. "Yes, of course," she replied, the tremor in her voice betraying her. She glanced toward the stairs, a flicker of hesitation knitting her brows together. "But we can't just run blindly into this. We need a plan." Adrian shook his head vehemently, a storm of emotions brewing beneath his calm facade. "This isn't the time to think. Anna needs us now." If we wait, his words hung in the air, heavy and charged. An uneasy silence settled, a portal of possibilities opening before us, but I felt paralyzed by fear. My legs seemed to root themselves to the floor. "Door. Now," I commanded, urgency igniting within me as I seized Adrian's arm. "If we don't get to her fast, we won't get another chance." It was a call to action, fueled not just by fear, but by the fervent hope that Anna remained untouched by the devouring shadows. As we dashed down the narrow staircase, the house's familiar warmth faded. Our lives had been entrenched in comedic family dinners and mundane routines. Now, the reality was staggering. The hallway was dark, eerie shadows writhing along the walls, echoing the turmoil inside me. "Anna!" My voice reverberated through the oppressive silence. The uncertainty was agonizing, a tight grip around my chest as the seconds stretched into an eternity. But as we reached the bottom step, everything changed. A flash of light crackled within the dining room, illuminating a tableau of chaos. The table lay overturned, chairs scattered like forgotten toys. In the center, the mural we once admired slowly twisted, drawing us toward its depths, wrapping us in an invisible tether. "Mom," Adrian shouted, taking a step back. "We need to get away from here." But I could barely hear him over the rush of adrenaline coursing through me, my mind racing through scenarios in which Anna became ensnared by the very darkness we feared. I could sense her laughter, a sweet melody that seemed to drift toward me through the din. And then, from the kitchen, a soft cry echoed through the chaos. "Help! Please!" It pulled at something deep within me, and without thought, I surged forward, heart pounding in my throat. "Anna, I'm coming." The weight of her fear was palpable, vibrating through the air like a fragile thread hanging by a frail edge. "Wait." My mother grasped my arm, her expression a mix of determination and fright. "We don't know what we're walking into." But I couldn't stop. I could only hear Anna's voice, like a beacon guiding me home. "Anna!" I screamed again as I barreled into the kitchen. The scene that met my eyes was one I would never forget. Anna stood by the back door, tears streaming down her